Good Friday morning. My name is Jerry Miller, and thank you kindly for joining us on Real Talk with Keith Smith. An absolute pleasure to connect with you on a show that has, 6 years, almost 6 years, approaching 6 years of shelf life?
617 today.
617 episodes of Real Talk with Keith Smith, ladies and gentlemen.
And I still got work to do.
You, the viewer and listener, can share the show, like the show, and join us in discussion and help shape the show. In fact, we encourage you to do that. We've added the platform Rumble to the network. So we're consistently and constantly, thank you, Judah, increasing the social media and podcasting platforms that air our content. Right. And we do that so you, the viewer and listener, can enjoy the content and the platform that is best suited for your needs. Today's program is about real estate, life, and the pursuit of happiness through prudent financial decision choices and avenues. Keith offers a lot of firsthand perspective through the School of Hard Knocks and through the School of Experience. Judah Wickhauer, the director and producer, if we can go to the two-shot and welcome Keith to the program. My friend, good Friday morning to you.
Good Friday morning to you. Good to see you, man.
Same to you, Keith.
Love sitting across from the table on you. So, I'll set the stage. So, we're not pointing fingers. We're just going to set the stage here, guys. So, National Association of Realtors was sued. There's multiple lawsuits. This pretty much started from 2019. Lost the lawsuit. Had a 1.8, if you treble it's off, $8 billion, dollars on it. Said they were going to appeal it, but they actually negotiated it. So they ended up with a negotiated settlement. And the basics of that negotiated settlement was a $418 million payment, which we still don't know how that's going to get done. And then the rules are changing. And the big rule is that the buyer cooperative will not be allowed in the MLS any longer. So last Friday, there was a meeting up in D.C. run by the NAR's Associate Council, and this was the MLS Association Executive Session of Realtors in Washington, D.C. And the thing I circled was, at the end of the day, the article kicked off in a term that this Associate Council used was Godspeed. So in essence, they're saying good luck. So what the basics of it is that the local MLS, and in our case it's CAR, has to enforce this. They're not going to enforce the number end of it, the money end of it. NAR is going to, actually we're going to get to pay for it because they're going to charge us at some point for it. But the local MLSs are the ones that are going to have to enforce these rule changes. And the articles I've read, and maybe there's somebody watching that can help us with that, it's unclear on how that's actually going to get done. How are the local MLSs, which were not party to the negotiations, were not sued in this scenario, are now responsible for enforcing it? And my question I asked my lovely wife this morning as we were coming in, I said, so tell me, Coach, how the hell is that going to happen?
And what was her answer?
Well, her answer is going to be what's in here. This is basically agents dropping dimes on other agents. That's how this is going to happen. Somehow or another, this is going to be reliant upon the agents. The other solution that is possible, and it's talked about in this article, I don't think that local MLS will do that. But what they can do is they can say you're required to upload on every listing or buying side a copy of the buyer broker agreement, right? But then who enforces that? It's like the conversation we had on Wednesday about the short stays. I don't know how this gets enforced. And then where does the liability lie? I got more questions than I have answers, and I've been asking from day one, how is this going to be enforced? And now we just found out.
Okay, so you're the pro, I'm the layman. I just have a platform and a microphone here.
Some people might disagree with you.
First question I have for you: what if agents choose to divest membership of Charlottesville Area Association of Realtors?
So what you're saying is we move out of car.
Yes.
Right. So, I mean, obviously you can do that. Now, the second newsworthy story in our industry, and this show is kicking off, is going to be kind of industry related on it, but the judge approved the Keller Williams Anywhere and RE/MAX settlements. And in those settlements, it says if you're part of any of these organizations, you are now not required to be part of NAR. Now you're not required to comply with the code of ethics of NAR, right? So, so the judge has said, okay, good, you can do this. They paid their amount of money, and they said this is allowed. The practical part of it, from our position, Jerry, is in order for me to function in the local MLS, I have to be a member of CAR, I have to be a member of VAR, and I have to be a member of NAR. It's required. It's bundled together. They're not separated. That may happen. The CAR board may make a decision to do that, and that changes the dynamics a little bit by selling their MLS or doing something else with their MLS. But at the moment, if I want to tap into Paragon, I also have to be a member of CAR.
Well, a follow-up question. You are doing a fair amount of transactions in Richmond. Are you a member of the Richmond Association?
We're soon to be, actually.
But currently?
We're joining it. Right now I use homes.com.
Okay, so why could an agent in Charlottesville or in Albemarle
You could do that.
use homes.com?
The thing is you...
And then, and if that agent utilizes homes.com for transactions in the CAR
The
footprint.
thing with that, Jerry, is you don't get all the you don't get the information. So homes.com is really, really good, but there's a ton of back of the
notes,
MLS,
the agent notes.
and there's other information behind it that you can go ahead
Those,
and
the agent notes can be accumulated or figured out with a phone call with the listing agent.
Assuming they return your phone call.
Yeah.
So that's how I'm doing this in Richmond, right?
Which is work for you.
And in the state of Virginia, I'm a licensed agent. I can do that.
Right.
Right. So, look.
So I guess my follow-up question again is, how will this be enforced at the local level if the agent is not a member of the association?
Well, if the agent's not a member of the association, they have no enforcement ability. Right. So
that's the point I'm making.
I got it, but what I'm trying to figure out is if I was back on the CAR board, how the hell are they going to do this? They have, I'm just calling it like it is. They have a struggle enforcing some of the rules at the moment. This is a big thing. This is, the liability that I think the local associations are going to take on that, because everybody's going to be watching this. This isn't like some other minor infraction. This is a big thing. And here's the 10-ton elephant in the room, Jerry. Wait till DOJ and
Department of Justice
and the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission, gets involved in this. So that's out there. So what those two agencies are doing, they're waiting for all this stuff to settle out. And if they don't like it, then they're going to get in the middle of it and go ahead and do something. So the FTC can actually just do something, but that's dependent upon who's in the White House at the time, right? As if that president changes, then the administration changes, and so that's an administrative thing. The DOJ, they can take it up to legal, the criminal chain or the legal chain. So I've got more questions than answers. I was really hopeful some agents might chime in and see what they thought about it. I just thought it was a little bit, if you read the article and read the quotes from the attorney, to go ahead and say, good luck, guys, Godspeed, let us know how it goes. That's the paraphrasing of it. She used the words Godspeed. That's not a good partner, right? If you were in business and a partner was doing that to you, what would you do? Get rid of that partner. So it's a very interesting dynamic what everybody's going to end up.
Because is NARS, and you have some board members watching the program now. You have some agents watching the program now, some investors watching the program now. Your friend Chris Fairchild watching the program now.
Chris, how's it going, brother? Good conversation yesterday. Hope you feel better.
what is the role of NAR, the National Association of Realtors? Is it not to back the agent and offer the agent a brand, a code of ethics, a lobbying platform, and to essentially have the local agents back by utilizing the power of either collective bargaining or a larger group to get things to happen? That's it in a nutshell, right?
So yes, 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 and yes. And it's also the MLS thing, right? Because everything kind of funneled from NAR down. Now you got this little hiccup going on, right? Where we have a settlement that kind of says whatever, it really doesn't matter if the lawsuit was right or wrong. It doesn't matter at this point. This is where we're at.
Right.
Right. And now
it's about picking up the pieces.
Now it's picking up the pieces and moving forward.
Right.
I've been saying all along that, this is a matter of transparency and communication and, value proposition from the agent side of it. But, I just think it's super unfair. Now, this may be Inman's interpretation of that meeting. They did include quotes, which uses the term Godspeed, right? And it basically says good luck on it. It seems like, hey, guys, you got us into this trouble. You lost, right?
And now you're passing the buck.
Right.
You're passing the baton.
You do a settlement. I mean, I'm not a smart guy, right? You do a settlement. By the way, I'm not in the room. And now I got to implement what you just did. You don't see anything wrong with that?
I see many things wrong with
right?
that.
I'm speaking rhetorically here. You don't see anything
And this is the same organization that has refused to release its membership numbers. Or excuse me, its membership numbers vanished.
Well,
disappeared.
It vanished from a public.
Can you access the membership numbers?
I figured out a way I can do it. I just don't have the information
Okay.
in front of me. But there is a way through the back door, through that, to go ahead and access.
So from the media's perspective and the public perspective, they cannot access the membership numbers of National Association of Realtors.
Not that I'm aware of.
Coincidentally, just a handful of months after a lawsuit that everyone in the world knows, where media was wondering how many members they would lose.
Well,
is that right?
Again, I'm going to get myself continually into trouble. My faith in NAR fell apart with the sexual. It hasn't settled yet, but
Turnstile. It's been a turnstile in the C-suite.
Yeah, when that,
with leadership.
Yeah,
we'll leave it at that.
Yeah, I take the treatment of women very seriously.
Yeah.
And I know that you don't get to that stage in that organization without having to go through multiple layers, and to get that far, and nobody know this,
You find it hard to believe.
There's a Marine Corps terminology which I won't use on it, but I just find it very hard to believe that
people didn't know the head of the association was
misconduct. Let's call it misconduct, sexual misconduct.
Dipping his pen in company ink.
Whatever the terminology you wish to use, women were not treated with the respect that they should be, and that I take very seriously.
Yeah,
and
same. Absolutely.
when that happened, I lost a lot of faith, and then all of a sudden now this is starting stacking up, right? Okay, and I get it, right? They're trying to negotiate, there's lawyers, and I get all that stuff, but to be,
walk me through
Yonna doesn't like this, but I know what it's like to be in a position like this.
Yes.
Right? And the only way to get yourself out of this is to crisis manage this, is to be uber transparent.
Right.
They're not being.
I'm just going to ask, you're in the business. I'm a guy that reads and is going to ask basic questions. It would seem to me another reason or another arrow in the quiver for local agents not to be members of the National Association of Realtors.
Yeah, I think I'm sticking with my number. I think this time next year you're going to see between 50 to 60% out. I think you really are.
Okay, so I'm going to continue.
The question becomes,
yeah.
Okay, can I be member?
Yeah, I got these questions for you, and I'll set them up perfectly for you to look like a genius if you let me do it.
Did you just call me a genius?
I'll set them up perfectly for you.
And he's got flannel on.
Yeah, I know. It's summertime, and he's wearing
flannel and a
flannel.
T-shirt
Yeah.
and a beard. You're doing the Seattle thing, man.
He's the bounty man. He's the bounty man. Bounty. If the National Association of
no singing
Realtors
allowed.
loses 40 to 50% of its membership, which is your prediction, right?
I think it'd be closer to 60.
Okay, you call it 60%. Here's my follow-up question for you. Those who stay in the National Association of Realtors, will their dues increase?
Well, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because, I mean,
They have less people supporting the organization, and they still have work to do. Of course, their dues are going to increase.
let's go to our triangle conversation we have with taxes all the time,
Sure.
right?
We know the dues are gonna increase.
Their budget is this. They got a huge building in freaking Chicago that somebody's got to pay for.
They have they're the number one lobbying group in the world. In America.
Yeah,
In America. We'll say
I
America.
was
We'll keep it realistic here.
But that's
In
what they
America.
do well, right? In fairness to them,
I mean, is this what they do well? I mean, look at the lobbying that's happened over the last 12 months. Is it what they do well?
that's not lobbying. That's
what I'm saying.
That's crisis
That's
management.
one and the same.
But Jerry, they kept us in business during COVID, right? So you got to give them credit where credit is due. I just think they really handled this poorly.
I would give more credit to the Virginia Association of Realtors for keep you guys in business during COVID,
I
where
would
they
agree. I
lobbied
would
the
agree.
governor of Virginia to make you an essential
I would
industry,
agree 100%.
less on NAR.
So now the question is okay, because you're going to ask me this.
I have a list of questions.
I know
ready.
you do.
Go ahead, keep going.
You're going to ask me this. So, yeah, I want to be part of CAR because I want to support local.
Oh,
right?
I was going to get to that question.
I know you are.
Yeah.
Get to that. I also would want to be part of VAR because I like what VAR is doing, Virginia Realtors is doing. I'm just really not liking what NAR is doing at the
Okay.
moment. But I have to, it's a trifecta. You're either one or you're all of them.
Right. And how much does that cost you? Across the board for all three
I can't remember.
per year, rough back of the napkin.
I literally can't remember.
Back of the napkin.
I can't remember, Jerry.
We're
I don't
talking
remember.
thousands of dollars.
No.
Back of the napkin.
No, that's including my MLS fees.
Okay. Back of the napkin
That's
for
the-
NAR, VAR, and CAR.
Yeah, so you'd have to drop the MLS, $1,000.
Okay.
$1,200, something like that.
Okay.
I can't remember.
$1,200.
Yeah.
Okay.
I really
And-
don't remember.
And the average agent how many transactions?
Oh, well, I know 51% dues between 0 and 1.
So $1,200 for over half of agents in the country.
Well, if you're looking at it that way, Jerry, then you got to roll in the MLS fees. Now you're back to the thousands.
That's where my number was. Okay. So more than half of the agents in the country do less than one transaction, and you're talking thousands of dollars in expenses, and they're basically asking themselves, what value proposition am I gaining for being
And there's
part
a lot
of this
of other
organization?
reasons.
When you could also consider or utilize Homes.com or Bright.
Well, you have to join Bright. Right?
Okay. But you don't have to
Bright.
join Homes.com.
You do not have to join Homes.
You do have fees you could pay to Homes.com for some improved back-end access.
It's actually on the listing side.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
because I'm in the middle of negotiating with them, so it's on the listing side of it. So it's not.
Won't people have these conversations internally amongst, between their ears about the questions I'm asking here, and I'm not in the industry?
Yeah, I mean, some people will think forward and ask those questions, and some people, Jerry, I can't tell you how many agents never thought this was going to happen. I mean, huge numbers. NAR, I don't think ever expected this to happen, right?
I think NAR knew this was going to happen,
Well, I
but
think-
NAR
I think
chose
after-
to keep it clandestine.
I think after it lost, he knew where it was going to end up, right?
I have a feeling NAR knew this was coming
Oh,
down.
no, I know a couple people on the.
We know those same people.
Yeah, I don't think. I think they expected to win the lawsuit. I really do. I really think they expected to win the lawsuit.
I don't know how.
I'm telling you, I think they did. I can assure you, there's a lot of real estate agents out in the country because they're angry. I speak to them. I'm, as you know, as folks know, I involved in a bunch of national cohorts, so I speak to real estate agents around the country. I'm speaking again in the. I've been invited to speak to the CEO event in D.C. again. So I'm on panels now, prep panels with agents all over the country. I met one in Richmond yesterday. They're pissed. Agents, for the most part, are pissed. Pissed that this got snuck up. Pissed that we were kind of less than transparent. And now the poor Woody and Candace that are on the board. I mean, I feel sorry for these guys. I feel sorry for Josh White, who's about ready to come on.
Be the president.
The president for next year. He's got to deal with this crap.
Yeah. Friend of yours.
He's a great guy. He's got to deal with this. Ann Burroughs is dealing with this. The staff over there. And this is just like, I was thinking about the best way to explain this. Do you know what an unfunded mandate is?
An unfunded mandate. Unpack that.
So a unfunded mandate is, let's say, and if Neil is watching, he will correct me if I'm wrong. If the state legislature says
Neil is watching,
every street corner in the Commonwealth of Virginia must have a traffic light, or must have a light, or must have something, right? We're not going to pay for it, but we're now going to tell the city of Charlottesville or Albemarle County or Fluvanna County, you must do X. We're not going to fund it, but you must do that. So what happens is the state does what's called an unfunded mandate that requires the local jurisdiction to do something, and they got to figure out how to pay it. So instead of saying, okay, we want a light, a traffic light on every corner of every intersection in the state of Virginia, or whatever it is, and we're going to pay for it, that's cool. But so what's happening here is NAR is saying, here's the deal we struck, good luck enforcing it.
I mean, that sounds like the definition of
I just don't get it.
Bull malarkey. How about that?
I don't get it. I mean, maybe there are
That sounds like the definition of
maybe there
far from an advocate and somewhat of an adversarial association.
I don't think I go that far.
Look at the position this association has put the industry in.
Yeah, so I think NAR is just saying, well, hey, this is just a new rule, deal with it, right? I think that's what they're doing. This is a new rule, no different than any other rule that comes from the top down, and the local ones have to enforce it. But this isn't just any rule, right? This is a decades and decades and decades change. Actually, in the state of Virginia, and for car, it's probably not that difficult, because we have, I guess it's 12 years or so, we've been required buyer-broker agreements. The question is how we're going to enforce that, right? How does this get enforced? And if you don't think there's not attorneys out there that are seeing this as an opportunity, if you don't think buyers and sellers, there's some, I guarantee it, out there seeing this as an opportunity, I can see local agents, local associations, and local brokerages, the liability box is going to open. I'll tell you, if I was on the board, I'd be asking for my D&O, my directors and officers insurance agent, to show up and say, am I protected personally? Because if I'm not, then we need to figure this out.
Comments are coming in. First, Mr. McChesney on McIntyre. The Mayor of McIntyre says, Jerry, that was Brawny, not Bounty.
Yeah. I actually knew that, but I didn't
not Bounty.
I
Sorry, Mr. McChesney.
Yeah,
I got my paper towels brands incorrect.
Come on, man.
Is Bounty Brawny's the guy with the plaid shirt and the beard?
There you go.
Okay.
That's it.
I know.
He's Brawny.
Should we put Judah Wickower on a 3-shot? And will you sing the jingle before we get to some other comments from agents? What's the Bounty?
Bounty is the quicker picker-upper.
Bounty's the quicker picker-upper.
And I can't believe I actually know that.
That's impressive.
And Brawny is
look at that.
Brawny is
stand up, and does he go like this?
No, I think he has like an. Isn't it? It's like a. Doesn't he have an axe or something like that?
Does he have an axe?
Like, I think he's supposed.
Is he
to
a lumberjack? You didn't bring your axe to work,
right.
Judah.
Okay.
I forgot to bring the
now
axe.
He's standing like this. Will you stand like this?
Okay. Anybody here a fan of Monty Python?
Yeah,
I'm a huge fan of Monty Python. Who doesn't like Monty?
What's your favorite Monty Python skit?
If
anybody out there, chime in. What's your favorite Monty Python?
And we'll get back to real estate here because we got comments coming in.
But it doesn't have to, not to the movie, but to their show, right? Not a Life of Brian or come on, help me out with the King Arthur one. What was a Knight's? Come on, what's the name of it? I forgot it. I lost it. Come on, with the coconuts. turned me into a newt. I got better. Come on, what's your favorite
Monty
skit?
Python and the Holy Grail.
There you go. Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
It's almost impossible to pick
Come on,
just
pick
one,
one.
but
Pick
I like the.
Judah,
I like
for the sake of a talk show.
I'm going to.
Okay, gosh.
Jeez.
Brawny. That's your
My
new name.
goodness.
So long-winded.
Oh, my daughter's
That was
accused
like
me of
5 words.
Okay.
I like the cheese shop skit.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
I like it. But what does the cheese shop skit segue into? It always segues into, and it's related to your shirt.
It's been decades since I watched that
come on,
skit.
brother.
You're talking about the I'm a lumberjack.
I'm a lumberjack, and I'm okay.
There we
That's
go.
a good one.
Best skit ever.
That is a very good
I'm a
skit.
lumberjack, and I'm okay.
That one's good too.
I'm sorry, folks. I went off on the deep end.
Comments. Carly is, I like when Carly watches this program. She cuts through the, she's
an engineer. That's what they do.
She shoots it straight.
That's what they do.
She shoots it straight. Ready for these, Keith Smith?
I am ready.
But to join CAR, you have to join VAR. To
Yeah.
join the Charlottesville Area Association of Realtors, you have to join the Virginia Association of
Yeah.
Realtors and the National Association
Yes,
of Realtors.
Correct.
Keith, are you thinking that requirement will go away? If so, without or with less National Association of Realtors support, do the Charlottesville Area Association of Realtors dues also increase? I mean, I have the answer. I have answers to these, but you're in the game here. I'm just going to use common sense to answer these questions in my experience. But you go ahead first. Are you thinking the requirement will go away that you have to join NAR? And if you do not have to be a member of NAR, do you expect or suspect the CAR dues will increase?
So to decouple the trifecta, I'm going to try to say this intelligently. To decouple the trifecta that has been so weaved together for decades and decades and decades would be an extremely difficult process to do. I think the decoupling of that, the short answer is, I think eventually that might happen, but it's not going to happen in the short term or the near term. There is a possibility that might happen. I just don't see, they're so connected and layered and been that way for decades and decades. I just don't see it picking apart. And what was the second part of the question?
She says if there is a disconnection or if they do break up, you don't have to join NAR to be a part of CAR. Do you expect the CAR dues to increase?
So the first one I just think answered. I think you're in the game here. I think
disagree
that's
with you a little more here.
I'm sorry?
I disagree with you here. I think that the opportunity not to be a part of NAR.
Oh, no.
Okay.
So it's two different questions.
Go
right?
ahead. Go ahead.
Right. So I can, not that I would,
Yeah.
but an agent right now can just choose not to be part of CAR, VAR, and NAR. They can
Right.
make that decision.
Right?
Right. Assuming, well, right now,
I mean, a great example of this is what you're doing in Richmond.
so right now, if you're part of Keller Williams, Remax, or anywhere, right, they're saying if you want to do this, you do this. Now that's assuming that your broker allows you to do it and the brokerage allows you to do it. But corporate is saying, hey, if you want to separate, you're willing to do that. The question I thought was asked, was CAR going to separate from NAR?
No.
And separate from that. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
I took the question a different way.
Yeah.
The agent can do that now, assuming their broker allows them to do that because, right, you work for a supervising broker
Yeah.
or a managing broker. They're the ones that make the call on this kind of stuff on it. As far as dues go, they are going to go up.
100%.
Yeah, I mean, that's a low-hanging fruit.
The dues are going to go up.
Yeah,
This
totally.
is extremely, and she knows the answer to this already,
Yeah.
because membership is dropping.
Well, that too, and somebody's got to pay for $418 million.
There it is. There it is. Follow-up question. Do you
That's spread over
believe
4 years, though.
Do you believe that CAR membership will also wane?
Yeah,
Me too.
sure.
Which is another reason dues will go up.
Yeah, I think I have some very specific opinions on how to handle this, but I'm going to respect the couple of board members that I know intimately, several of them I know intimately, and not say something that impedes on what they're trying to do. But there are solutions here. My hope is they have them. I'll tell you, I'll throw a question out to any real estate agent, and I'm actually going to ask staff this. I read the bylaws for CAR last night actually, and it is unclear to me that can a member in good standing attend a CAR board meeting? I realize I can't communicate, I realize I can't participate, but am I allowed to sit there and watch and observe a CAR board meeting?
This happens in HOA meetings, where you can,
all-
a member, an owner of an association could be a part of a board meeting as long as they don't go into closed session.
Correct. So,
Yeah.
or in this case, it would be an executive session. I believe that's closed session, executive session, and that's specifically for contract negotiations, legal, yada yada yada, for that or employment or employee. I don't know the answer to that. I don't know if it's open. I'll tell you, if I was,
You would be a part of the meeting. You would want to be. To see the direction of where things are going.
If I was back on the board, even if it's not in the bylaws and even if it's not in the rules and regulations, I would be pushing to have transparency at the board meetings. Either have them, anybody can chime in on Zoom. There has to be very specific rules, right? Because you don't want to interrupt the meeting and stuff like that. You can't, these rules can take into place. But I think that would be a helpful thing. Back to this transparency question, where I'm willing to throw that out there. Some of the other solutions, I have some very specific solutions that I will talk to board members one-on-one about. I don't want to do it publicly at that point.
I totally understand. My phone is lighting up, and I can't help but notice many of your colleagues watching the program here. Ms. Wagner has another follow-up for you. She says, I think NAR expected a win because they had won in the past and thought they were too big to fight against it. She also says, I think they were overly confident and unable to see the reality of how protecting agents' interests is in conflict at times with the client's interests. NAR is out of touch with reality.
I've had one-on-one.
That's what she says.
Yeah, and she's spot on. And that's the reason why I said what I said. I've had one-on-one conversations with CEOs of companies, with NAR, board members. We know some of them. I know some that you don't know on that. They fully expected to win because it happened before. And you know what? This was a Russian roulette thing. Eventually you were going to lose. I will say this, when I was on the board back in 2022, I said, look guys, let's plan for this eventuality. Let's be prepared for it. I don't know if that happened or not because I'm not on the board any longer. My hope is it did. But back to my comment, I think if it's allowed and it's capable and the bylaws are allowed to do that, which they're silent on it, which means that I think it's an interpretation thing. The best of my reading of it, they're silent. I think opening up board meetings, at least to Zoom, that agents can chime in. They can control, people can just watch and listen to it.
Seems like a no-brainer to me.
I think that will go a long way in making people that are nervous less nervous.
Yeah.
I think I would do
It's a way to breed confidence through communication and transparency.
So if this conversation we're having today and something like that moves forward, I would consider that a win.
Do you want to touch on the additional news you wanted to cover today? We've briefly touched on it.
Yeah. I mean, it's again, those of us who keep a track on all these multiple Inman, Reese Media, Housewire, yada, 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 down that. But so the judge approved the settlement. I kind of touched on it before. It involves the three entities that settled prior. These were prior to the settlement or prior to the loss of the lawsuit. I think it's Keller Williams, Remax. Remax was one. Anywhere, I believe, was second, excuse me. And I believe Keller Williams did it. I may have the date when it was either before or after the lawsuit. I believe it was just before, if I remember correctly. But they just sent the template. That's the way this is going to get done. And they've agreed to the changes. They've agreed to a dollar amount. They agreed to remove that agents or brokerages or franchisees can drop out of NAR, can drop out of the ethics, and I can't remember what the last one is. I'd have to look at the phone and read the article again. But that's now on the table. So all these things are starting to stack up, guys, and we shall see.
This is an interesting topic that's come in. Does Keith care to speculate on how the Realtor website, the Zillow app, and the Homes.com that you guys have been talking about quite a bit lately?
I think Zillow is going to get hit hard.
That's where they want us to go.
Yeah. I think this is going to. There's
a lot of fodder for a real estate talk show of late, is there not?
Yeah, and we got coffee, so there you go.
And you're on point.
It's the coffee. So, I've been cautioned a long time ago to be careful about my conversations about Zillow because technically they're a broker. Yeah, and I think the fact that they are doing what they're doing on the portal side of it takes that off the table. They're fair game. So I think this whole Premier 8...
Explain what that means.
Well, they're a broker, so this would be like me... I love everybody at Nest. Nest is a great company. They're all pros. This would be like me saying something negative about Nest. I would never do that on that. So technically, they're a broker. They hang a brokerage license at the state level and the local. Actually, I believe they're a member of the local association CAR on that. But I think, and that's not me. It's everything you read. Look, some agents pay thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands
for leads
of dollars just to be on a list.
I mean, some agents, that's their business model.
And I think that's going to change, right? Now,
which I find extremely perplexing.
Zillow has now said, well, we can use this new showing document, which, oh, by the way, now our legal team.
Explain the showing document.
Yeah, so basically you can do a document to show it. The legal team at VAR said, look, this kind of crosses state.
You're talking the touring document?
Yeah, the touring document.
Yeah.
It crosses the...
7 days.
Yeah.
Explain it.
Yeah.
I
You can explain it. To me, it's literally not worth talking about because it's got no value. It's not applicable in the state of Virginia. It's just Zillow's way, and the reason I wanted to toss it out there.
Of trying to figure out a value proposition.
There you go.
Yeah.
And because I guarantee you, are shedding these, because how they make their money is how they charge me as an agent.
Sure.
And the big one that's killing that is our friends at home.
At Homes.
At Homes, right.
Yeah.
And here's
which is owned by?
CoStar.
CoStar. What else does CoStar own?
Apartments.com.
What else does CoStar own?
Oh, God. You'll help me out. I lost it. Help me out.
Why don't I call up the CoStar?
So while you're doing that, the huge difference, and I'm still working on bringing executives in on that.
This is just...
The huge difference on that is that as if I join, which is what we're working on doing, and I put Keith Smith's listing out there, and it hits contact agent, it's coming to me or my dedicated team member, right? If I'm on Zillow and I click on that, it goes to whoever paid for that zip code, right? So it's my listing. You saw it in Zillow. I'm paying to go ahead and do this. You click on the button thinking you're going to reach me or reach somebody that's connected to the listing, and you get Judah. Judah, I just don't see Zillow.
Who do you see winning the arms race?
So you've got to divide things up, right? So
I'm blowing up here. Go ahead.
Homes, Zillow, Realtors are portals. They're not MLSs. They're portals. They aggregate from the MLSs via, help me out, what's the technical, what's the IDX, right?
We're very familiar with the IDX.
We're very familiar with that.
CoStar, LoopNet, Apartments.com, Homes.com.
So Zillow,
Biz Buy Sell, Land.com.
Correct. So the Homes.
I don't understand how this is not antitrust. What CoStar is doing right now.
You know why?
CoStar owns the.
It's just a matter of what they own. They're not, in order to be antitrust, they have to control what the market is paying, right? The money end of it. They're not money. All they're doing is portal in it. All they're doing is taking, and they just figured out a better way to do it.
Yeah.
An awesome way to do it, actually.
But you don't anticipate that's the direction they're going to go?
Who?
CoStar?
I'm going to take the owner of CoStar at his word, and he said no.
Okay.
They have no interest in
And getting the MLS game.
MLS. Their interest is making me better as an agent by giving me the dedicated portal.
And you take a company that owns LoopNet, Apartments.com, Homes.com, Biz Buy Sell. I mean, these are business trading platforms, commercial real estate trading platforms.
Well, they're not trading. That's incorrect. They are not trading platforms. They are portals.
Okay.
Right. So CoStar.
You go to these websites to figure out the information on the properties you want to buy or sell.
I understand that, but the difference with the MLS is now with the MLS, I'm connected to contracts.
I get that.
I get all that stuff.
And you don't think the next silo or addition to these portals would be that very thing, which would be very easy to do?
Yeah. So I take people at their word.
Okay.
And he very clearly stipulated
Okay.
on the record
All right.
that they are not going to do that. And I'm going to take that at face value. They would be cutting their throat to spite their, cutting
Why?
off their nose off to spite
Because you're
their-
saying then they wouldn't be able to source the data.
They would not be able to source
Because
the
the
data.
MLS said, why would we give you that data
They would not
if
be
you're
able to.
going to compete with us?
They would not be able to source the data. So the key thing about the MLS is the word that starts with D. It's all about data, right? It's how we prepare for the show. It's how I prepare for this show, right? If that wasn't there, I could piece a little bit of it together with Homes.com, but I cannot do the details that we do with the MLS. So the MLS is a huge tool, and it makes the market better. Homes, Zillow, yada, 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 they're portals. They're just portals that connect the buyer and the seller to the MLS, henceforth the name portal. Look at me. I used henceforth.
I see henceforth.
I don't even know what it means, but I think I used it
You
right.
used it correctly. You're on fire today.
I'm a lumberjack and I'm okay. Freaking best skit ever. Spam. Sorry, I just absolutely love, and there's a story behind that. You ready for it?
We know you're gonna tell it. The Knights of Ni, the sword fight with the Black Knight, is what some folks have suggested is their favorite.
So there's a story behind this. So does anybody remember what a VCR is? Anybody? You remember what a VCR was? Yeah, of course. Yeah.
SHB, I think, is inclined to agree with you. Why would Holmes do that? They'd be subject to all the settlement rules, MLS rules.
Absolutely.
It would limit what they're doing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's no business sense to do that. They're killing it. They're making money hand over fist, and as they should. They're diversifying. They provide it. There's zero reason that they can do that unless all of a sudden the MLS just vanished, and then they need to fill that gap. But there's literally no reason to go ahead and do that. You don't want to hear my...
You're going to say it. Let us
No.
know. Please, no. I do want to hear it.
If you don't want to hear
I
it,
want to
I
hear
won't tell
it.
you. I won't
I
tell
want to
you.
hear it. I definitely want to hear it.
This is a 1982 story. Is it 82? Maybe 83.
Okay.
I'm in Sofia, Bulgaria,
Oh,
behind the Iron Curtain.
behind the Iron Curtain.
The Marine House, which all the 5 Marines lived in, had a bar in it that makes Tavola's bar look like second rate.
Okay. Wow.
And we had, so this, you got to understand, think of North Korea, right? We needed to have to go fly to Frankfurt to get Oreo cookies,
Okay.
right? We would do crazy stuff like that. So we had the only VCR in all of Bulgaria, and we had 2 tapes. First tape was Arthur. Remember the movie Arthur?
Vaguely.
Right? This was about the guy that took a drink. He was a Playboy drunk.
Okay.
And Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
Okay.
So what we would do, because we're Marines and we weren't that smart, is every time Arthur took a drink, we would do a shot. And we would get through that whole movie, and then we would watch Monty Python and the Holy Grail a little lit.
So you guys were feeling good.
We were feeling good. But this is what Marines do when they got nothing else better to do. They figure out ways to come up with drinking games. So that was the story.
Why are you joining the Richmond Association?
Oh, because we're expanding our business that way, right? Yvonne is
Your daughter
lives there. We're doing quite a bit of business there.
Okay.
This homes.com is great, but it's not the most efficient way to it. I had meetings with folks from Richmond yesterday, agents and Richmond MLS. So we're in that process of doing that. The other reason we're doing it is Richmond MLS and there's bleed overs, right, between the Richmond and Carr, and you're starting to see, and we've been talking about this for a while, this whole Mineral, Goochland, Charlottesville, Richmond coming together, right? So there's some bleed overs over there where you want to be in both MLSs, so you can get agents from Richmond to see it and agents from Charlottesville and the Carr to see it.
Well, Richmond also has more inventory.
It has more inventory because there's more people. So it's got 6,000 agents,
Right,
versus 1,000.
And the price point's different. It's got affordability. It's got inventory. It's one of the hottest in the Commonwealth right now.
I hung out at Scotch Edition for meetings yesterday afternoon, and had a half a thought going, we should get an apartment here.
Oh, and how did Yonna respond to that?
She didn't know it. She knows it now, but I didn't tell her.
Your shop is busy.
We're very busy. Yeah, thank you.
You got a lot cranking right now.
We're very busy. We're very busy. We've got awesome people. We're growing. Look, we're just providing coaching and mentoring. That's our big thing. That's what we do. And we've always believed in the referral system. Right, and that's why we've never bought leads, and we'll never buy leads. We will never buy into that end of it. This is all about taking care of the client and staying connected with the client, and the client will give you business. And you know what? It's not rocket science, and it kind of works. And if it ain't broke, don't.
The
fix
buying
it.
leads side of this business.
I never understood that.
Seems to be.
People look successful at it, though.
Well, the future of the buying leads in this business seems to be. How would you characterize?
In jeopardy. I think that was a big word.
It
is. If I was buying leads right now,
that's a big word.
That's a big word. It's also a TV show. If I was buying leads right now, I'd be really nervous.
And you should put it very simply why that would be the case.
Yeah,
I think you did.
I think the value proposition of what they're giving to you is not working because, look, I met 4 real estate agents in Richmond yesterday. And every single one of them was pissed at NAR, and because I've asked him, I says, how do you feel about this, right? And how are you going to conduct business? He says, look, we're going to have to actually have a conversation. So this whole automated system is not going to work. I'm going to have to pick up the phone and call Jerry or Connie or whoever and say, okay, tell me how this is going to work. And you need to answer the phone, because if you don't answer
I answer the phone.
I know you do.
Yeah.
It was rhetorical.
Yeah,
Jerry.
a lot of folks don't answer the phone. I like talking on the phone.
Drives me freaking crazy.
I know it does.
I don't get it.
Seen it.
We're in the talking business.
Well, you're in the communication business.
I don't get it.
You need to communicate.
Right? Why don't you want to pick up the phone and talk to me? Right? Yeah, it's tough.
Comments coming in.
Yeah, sure.
This is a good one. Carly we should get Carly back on the show.
Yeah, she's welcome anytime. All she's got to do is tell me when.
The major benefit of the MLS is that the cooperating agent commission is offered, advertised, and honored by agreeing to follow the rules by participation. If Homes, Zillow, etc. allow agents and owners to directly input listings, can MLSs go away?
So we answered that question, I think, already. So I think that's a 2-part thing. I am uber confident there's no way Homes is going to get into the MLS business, right? It's just, it'll be cutting off its nose to spite its face. And plus,
Go ahead.
I take the man at his word. But if I heard that, and
She says, since starting in July, the cooperating commission goes away, similar to commercial real
it's
estate.
actually August now. It's August. They got to August 12th now.
Similar to commercial real estate, not all listed on a central MLS. A great example of that is what Tallheimer has. It's on the Tallheimer website, not elsewhere. Can be listed directly on platforms and advertised directly to buyers. Palmyra has several listings in the CVR MLS. I've had 2 off-car MLS sales this year in Louisa and Palmyra.
Absolutely. Well, the reason you're seeing the The Northern Virginia one is because there's a data share agreement between Bright and Carr,
Which you've covered well.
which we don't know if it's going to continue or not, right?
You anticipated it would.
I can't see a reason why they wouldn't, but there very well might be, we're not in the boardroom, back to my transparency thing, right? We're not in the boardroom, so we don't know what the conversations are on it. And part of the solutions to this revolves around that I just don't want to talk about right now, because I just don't want to put people in a bad spot. But I think there's other potential solutions to this. But to come, I believe it's the 17th or the 12th of August, you will not be able to put in, there won't be a field any longer to put in the buyer-broker thing. You supposedly can't refer to it, you can't talk about it, it can't be in the MLS at all. Back to my point, if Carly's got a listing and I've got a buyer, I'm going to pick up the phone and call Carly. Carly's going to answer the phone because she's a pro and call me back and say yes. Then I'm going to ask, tell me what your seller is offering, just like any commercial transaction I ever do. Doing a half a dozen of them right now. You have that conversation. What are you paying? Well, that's not good enough. And you negotiate what you get paid. And if not, then it goes back to the leaseor or the purchaser or whatever is going in. You negotiate it. But you're going to have to negotiate your commissions, and you're going to have to negotiate with multiple more people than you normally do. There. And that's it.
Well said. That's a perfect way to close. What are the weekend plans? You guys are grinding.
Oh, I am riding a 100-mile bike ride tomorrow.
Is that the one in New York?
That is the following weekend.
Okay.
I am doing it's an out and back on the Cap Trail. I don't know if you're familiar with the Capitol.
I do not know the Cap Trail.
So the Capitol Trail goes from Richmond to your
Williamsburg?
Williamsburg.
Okay.
Actually goes to Jamestown.
Oh, very nice.
So it's 52 miles one way. They turn you around and bring you back 52 miles.
Do you have time to stop at Paul's Deli for a hot Holly sub?
My little legs are going to be going
Okay.
and sitting in a thing, and I want to try to knock that out as quick as possible. And I'll do I usually do at the halfway mark, I'll do a break and then come back. So pray for no wind on Saturday, because that course is flat, and if anybody knows anything about cycling, it sucks because you're pedaling all the time. And if you're hitting a 15-mile or 10-mile headwind and you're trying to do 15 miles an hour, the math don't quite work on that. But
you were absolutely on fire.
yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
I wanted to get this out there. I wanted to see what my fellow realtors got to say. Look at that, I said that right.
You said it right. Donna would be
look at
happy.
that. Look at, it's about ready to go away, and I'm going to start saying it right.
Keith Smith, Yes Realty Partners. Keith Smith, the owner, co-owner of Yes Realty Partners. They do a fantastic job. Their shop is growing. They're busy as all get out, and they're busy because they do it the right way.
Just take care of people.
They take care of people, guys. Find them
Just
online
like
at YesRealtyPartners.com. Go to Real Talk with Keith Smith and
Pull down the partners tabs because everybody in there does it the right way.
there you go. Real Talk with Keith Smith. Click the Partners tab for the trusted advisors in the game we call real estate. Judah Wickower, Keith Smith, yours truly, Jerry Miller, on the Friday edition of Real Talk with Keith Smith. So long, everybody. It was excellent.
Thanks, Guy.
It was excellent. You get your...